Simply put, I consider myself a connector. My grandfather in Cuba was an eminent medium. I've got a guy here who's really weird. And now they're talking to me, and I'm smelling whiskey and I'm smelling a cigar. It's kind of like mediumship on crack. I'll fast forward 2 years, star people, aliens. I shouldn't be watching this. This is private. And then boom, I was back, because this stuff is crazy fascinating and scary as hell.
Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Medium's Table. I'm your host, Michelle Gardner. This podcast is your personal invitation to join me at the intersection of the everyday and the extraordinary. Together, we'll explore the magic of mediumship, share spiritual stories, and connect with fellow mediums on this incredible journey. So grab a seat, pour yourself a cuppa, and come join us at the Medium's Table, where spirits gather and stories unfold. I'd like to welcome to the show longtime friend and beautiful soul sister, Jeannette. Welcome to the show, Jeannette.
Heart-filled hello, and so beyond excited to be here. And I know we didn't discuss this a second ago, but I have to take a minute out of the show to say how proud I am of this lady, her endurance, her stick-with-itness to get this show going, and also her husband, Shane, for supporting her. Her story is also a beautiful one. Someday, hopefully, she'll share that with everyone, and how she got this up, how she did her window behind her, and all the details. And even when she was getting knocked down, got right back up and is almost producing now, I think, 50 shows, learned editing. Nothing is going to hold her down. And I am applauding her. And may she have many, many more years of doing what she's doing and educating the world and filling people in and spreading her light with all of us.
Oh, thank you, Jeannette. I'm humbled and I'm not going to cry. Thank you so much.
No Kleenexes around, huh?
There is, but there's makeup and, I don't need to do ugly crying right now. I'll hold that for later. No, thank you so much. I really appreciate those words. And you've hit the nail on the head. And as you know, because we've known each other for so long now, I do share some of those challenging times. So you know what's involved in how this works and how it all gets off the ground. So thank you so much for those words. Today we would love to talk about you. Can you please share with us what it is that you do?
So I connect. I think that's the simplest way I could say this, with spirit. And I connect with your loved ones who have passed. I don't see it as like, oh, wow, an all-empowering gift or super special thing. I authentically believe that originally we were innately born, all of us, with this gift to help us navigate life like a GPS. And somewhere along the line, with secular religions and moms and dads, your imaginary friend really isn't there. It got smashed down. But I think we all have the ability to reconnect with it. And a lot of times as we get older in life and we're in a major crisis mode or something, it comes to us through yoga or through meditation and it gets reignited. So simply put, I consider myself a connector, like your cable when your phone battery is dying and you connect it to the source. And so I feel like an old time operator where there's a huge switchboard. And that switchboard has a million possibilities of what and who can come through, from a pet to an angel to your great-great-grandmother to an ancestor you never even heard about. And it clicks in, and somehow the people that are with you in this life, that are guiding you, your guardian angels, whatever you want to call them, team of light, know what connection you need at that point in time to hear, to help guide you, to help give you the light to see where you're at and help you move forward. So that is, in a nutshell, I think the simplest way that I can say this is what I am endeavoring to do for people.
Yeah, wow. I love that description. And it's so, like you say, such a simple description and an easy way for people to understand how that works and what you do.
It's, when you say I'm a medium, a lot of people go, oh, really? I'm a large. It's really funny. Yeah. But if you look at it a different way, you're in the in-between. If you're in the mid or the median, right? Statistically, you have one side of it and the other side. So if you have the human here and you have spirit over here, the energy, they're both energies, right? One is in a vessel, one is not. You're connecting. You're making that connection for them to communicate, to feel, to remember. Amazing. It's an honor to be able to be of service, and teach people to do it for themselves. Ultimately.
Yeah. And that's an amazing gift to be able to bring to the world, really, isn't it?
It doesn't get old. And it is such a vast field. You think it's just, okay, connecting with people who have passed and, them counseling you. There's also connecting with your higher self. There's, again, like I said, your ancestors, connecting with your past life, who you were to your sister last time around. It's endless. It's endless. And there's new things being discovered every day. Vibrations, sound, so many healing modalities that are being brought to help everyone. It's really magnificent. It's an exciting time.
It certainly is. Yeah, because I've noticed more and more that science and spirituality are starting to, there is a gap that is closing. Yes.
100%. Universities doing studies on, and I can't get into the metaphysical, but now we have the technology with the different MRI machines and everything else where they can map your brain. And they've actually done, there's a university in Virginia, and there's another one, I think I want to say in Arizona or something like that. And when a medium goes into a reading, the different sections of her brain or his brain that light up compared to an average person. So they're getting actual evidence to back up that there's something different happening. And there's a biological component to it as well when it's taking place. So yeah, there's a lot that is being done to move this forward and make it where, like I said, where it should have been from the beginning, available to everybody. Like, I connected with my higher self today and they said, no, don't take that job. Go this way instead of that way. And we all have it to a degree where you get like a little voice like, no, maybe not this way, maybe this. And that's exactly what it is. But if you let it grow and completely open up to everything that it can be for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it is, moving into those states where you can connect, like you say, to your higher self and spirit. It is actually a natural state for us to be in.
Yep, 100%. But if you then have the power to make the correct decisions and to guide yourself, where does it leave other institutions that are wanting to have that power over you? No longer dependent upon them for that. So you're recognizing that the power is not out there, up there. It is within. It's always been within. And when you do connect with that source, and that source connects to higher sources, you can feel it. Those are those moments that you're like, wow, there's a clarity to them. And yes, I know this is what I got to do. Can't explain exactly why I know it, but I know it. And you move forward in it. There's nothing like that. And that is you connecting to your higher self, connecting to your soul, and feeling the power that you have within to run your own life and make your own decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that. That is absolutely truth in itself. Absolutely. Incredible. Jeannette, can I ask you, how did you become, or how did you get to where you are today? Like, how did you become a medium or a connector? What happened there? Like, was this something that you were born with? Did one day you wake up and it was just happening? Like, how did this all unfold within your life?
I've done a lot of reflecting upon that over like the last 3 or 4 years. And the best way I could describe it is like a mush potpourri of things that kind of took place and happened, and then it fell asleep for 4 years. And I'm going back into my memory. I've done hypnosis and I do past life regressions and stuff, and so I've taken myself back to the first memory where I sensed a separate energy within the room, and I remember being in a cradle, being able to have my feet like up in my feet, up in my face, and playing with my toes up here, right? And seeing a white curtain just kind of moving with the breeze coming through the window, and feeling a presence there. It might have been maybe 3. That's the extent of that memory. That's my first memory of sensing something that wasn't visible, wasn't physical, like what I was exploring, my body, my feet, whatever. And then I kind of fast forward to being maybe 7 years old. I come from a family with 4 children, my parents and my grandmother, so it's 7 people. And my brother's a little bit older than me, both of them. They got a later sleep time, and I would complain about it, but yeah, I would go to bed. And then I was somnambulistic, right? Major sleepwalker. I would come out into the family room with my, blanket around my head, with my eyes closed, and sit there staring at the TV with my eyes closed, giving my brothers tremendous amount of material to tease me, for days and days. So that tends to be sometimes, a clue when children begin to do this, that their level of consciousness can be altered, or they're altering. I was in a different place. I wasn't really there, and not at all in charge of my body. And at about the same time, I went back in memory. So let's see. I was on the eve of that 7th birthday, sleeping, and I shared a room with my sister in a crib on one side and my grandmother in another twin bed on the other side. And I was falling asleep. We'd said our prayers and everything. And I felt same thing when I was 3, like a shift in the air, the energy, it just felt different. And I felt it coming in through the door to my right. And I just instinctively knew that it was a man and that it was familiar to me. I felt literally a kiss on my cheek. And then I heard a tender, not spooky, creepy, kind of like, if you see your niece or something doing something incredibly sweet, kids do it, and you're like, oh, it's so cute, and I had no idea, obviously, the blanket went up over my head, and I spent a good portion of those years like that. To me, that was my do not disturb, don't bother me. I don't know who you are, but I'm not having it. It wasn't until a lot of time passed that I was able to put all this together. That's why I said it was mishmash. The same day, or about that same week, I was drawn to my parents, the door to their bedroom, not knowing why. It was like a pull. And when I got there, I heard 2 voices, men's voices, in my parents' room. And I kind of just like opened the door ever so slightly. And I peeked in. I couldn't see anything. It was totally black. But I felt this cold rush of air. And the hair on the back of my neck just stood up, and I could hear a voice, and then I could hear my dad responding, and I just shut the door, freaked out, and shut it down. So I've had all of these little things, and as I've moved on through life, they continued. And I just kind of, when something like that, so bizarre, without any logical explanation for me, I would throw it in the back of my mind. Just toss it back there. Stick it way back there in that closet, that mini storage area, and keep going with your life. From there, high school, whole different scene. You're all about yourself, your buddies, your friends. From high school, college. So then there were like several deaths in a row in my family. At this point, I'm something like 19. And I'm sure that there were other episodes that happened to me in between, but I can't recall. My grandmother comes to visit. I was born in Cuba. I came to the US when I was 14 months old. And when she comes back from Cuba, she's at our house for a couple of days. We're in Miami. And she hugs me goodbye. She's going back to California. And I hear her say to me, I love you so very much. This is the last time I'm going to be able to hold you. I'm going to be leaving now. I already was dating the man who became my husband. She says, I'm really happy with, Michael. He's going to be incredibly supportive of our family. They're going to take him in. And I'm hearing this inside my head, and she's not moving her lips. Another one of those freak out, throw it in the back. And where are we going out tonight? Who's buying the drinks? I was like, I can't. I went to my room and I just started bawling. She died 2 weeks later. And that one I also knew. My dad caught a plane to California. And then I hear her talking in my head. He's not going to make it. I'm getting ready to go. I will leave, because he's not meant to see me leave. And I'm like, what what? I don't understand any of this. So became known to me before that age that my grandfather in Cuba was an eminent medium. He didn't have much of an education. I don't think he even finished what we call elementary school here. And he started to see a spirit. The man introduced himself. I mean, he physically saw him like he was a person. And he thought he was going crazy, kind of like me when I throw things in the back there. None of that makes any sense to me. And so he went and he had all kinds of tests done. They found nothing wrong with him. And that spirit told him, I'm a medical doctor and I'm going to be your guide. And we're going to help heal a lot of people in your small village area, your community. And to prove to you, because I know that you require proof, I want you to go to my gravesite, this little town, take the train. My wife and daughter still live at this address. So my grandmother and him boarded the train, went and knocked on the door, and the lady answered. And she started crying, and she didn't believe him. But then he said, well, he's telling me that his gravesite is there, and described, they had set something like, I think it was like the medical, like the snake or whatever, the healing sign. So that was the beginning of his journey. And sure enough, he would come up with, back in the day, there was pharmaceuticals, like botanicals, where the doctors would give them a script of mix this with this, with this, with this. And so my grandfather would, in trance, everything was in trance. They would give out all of these things for the different people that were ill. And they would take that to the pharmacist. And the pharmacist, what doctor gave you this? No, Francisco over. And he's like, so they already knew of him. Never charged anything, because his takeaway was that this was something that was something that he was supposed to do. It was part of his journey in this world. And with that, he could tell you when your kid was going to be born, if it was going to be a girl or a boy, what they were in a past lifetime. But all of these were stories that I heard. I studied psychology, I studied statistics. So I'm like, it all sounds great, but where's the evidence? They do have one picture. Unfortunately, we left Cuba, right? But the picture, a cousin of mine had it, shows a person sitting there, and it's like a very thin white drapery around them. And I didn't know what that was until kind of like where I'm at now in life, where I've really started to research this, because I thought, okay, what am I going to do now? And I have dove into this, and that's pretty much what it looks like when spirit is creating an impression over the material of the individual that's doing the trance. So definitely there was a lot there. Back to my childhood. Mom was Catholic and dad was raised having every Friday night, a session with all of the family members and neighbors that would come. Their seances. So they agreed, and I get it, that, hey, we're not going to let the kids in on any of this. So I don't blame them, but I sit here and I go, dang, would have been nice to know as I was going through all of these very strange episodes and whatever dreams, and then they would come true. Had I had a source of somebody to talk to and say, hey, last night this guy came in, the guy, by the way, ended up being my dad's brother who died at 33 in Cuba of a brain tumor. And I later got to meet him in spirit. And he's a funny guy. He turns on our Christmas train every Christmas morning. You'll be sleeping and you'll hear, and the latest new member of the family, my son-in-law, is like, what? We were all together up in the mountains. We rented houses. Like, what the hell? And I go, that's Uncle Julio. He's like, what? Oh, yeah. So sit down, have some coffee. We're going to have a little chit chat about the other side of the family, the Hernandez side of this family. How they do it, I don't know. My brother and I are like, you're getting up and doing this, aren't you? Are you? But no, I mean, time and time again, it happens. And it has happened where it was just like, I remember my husband and I were first married, and there was nobody else in the house. Because when you come in a big family, you're quick to blame all the others for anything that goes awry and off and suspicious, and cookies that disappear and Coca-Cola liters that just like evaporate into nothingness. So there's a lot of magic that goes along with it. So from learning that, and my mom has said, look, I didn't know, and she became a believer very late because the dogma of being Catholic and everything that goes with it, where it's the Pope that gets the messages and nobody else can do that. It's intense. And when you hear something over and over and over and over again, it's ingrained. And that becomes your code. So it took her, she's actually told me, it wasn't until I've seen you work that I actually believe all of this. Because she would hear the stories of things that would happen to people, but there was never one for her specifically of like this. But again, she never really went to the seances either. So, other uncles and stuff that married into the family did, and they got their proof, like they were thinking something that nobody knew about. And my grandfather would say, you're wondering whether you should study A or B, and you really want A, but everybody's pushing you towards B. And I'm here to tell you, A is where you should go because you need to follow what you want to do and, what you're being pulled to do, not what anybody else is. So it wasn't until I came around, I don't know how many years later, that she's like, wow, evidence, tons and tons of evidence, which is very important for me. So my field was psychology. I did therapy, research papers, reliability, validity. I wanted to do my dissertation on different states of consciousness and compare the different states of consciousness, like a medium when they're in a trance or doing a reading, to an average scale of another human being who's average. And I was told by a professor, brilliant guy, took me for coffee and goes, so that dissertation sounds really exciting and fun. And I'm just going to say one thing to you. No. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. You've done your time. You've done your year. You've done all your clinical hours. Don't pick something else to do. So that is changing, given that there's more evidence today, that they're coming up with more analysis, and universities are actually working on it. So I didn't really mess anymore with mediumship. I would have dreams. I knew how my daughter was going to be born. I knew that I was going to have some difficulty. And these dreams are like a movie. They're like a movie. And the person is sitting exactly where they were. And my husband is over there looking all freaked out. And I'm relaxed because I know exactly what is going to happen. When my daughter was born, she was born in 91. Of course, general anesthesia, nobody did that. Well, I have a birthmark and complication with blood vessels on my back, so they couldn't tap. The guy said, this is head of anesthesia at the hospital here in South Florida. So if we tap in to give you epidural, we could render you no movement from the waist down. not a good thing. So we're going to have to, but don't worry, don't get concerned. We're going to have to do general anesthesia. And as he's saying this, like I said, my husband's like, he would do this thing with his hair when he would get on there. And I'm just sitting there going, yeah, I heard all this already before. It's going to be fine. Because they showed me exactly how it went. And I was under general anesthesia. And they show in my dream, the nurse showing me my daughter. She doesn't hand her to me because I'm totally out of it, right? She just shows her to me. And she says, she didn't say, it was interesting because we didn't want to know the gender of the baby. The baby is perfect. She's perfect. There's nothing wrong with her because I was really scared that she would have the same birthmark and it's vascular. So there's issues associated with it. And I would share this with my husband. Okay. I wasn't rude about it. And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever, hormone. I guess this is another thing that pregnant women go through. But like that, I got to tell you over and over through life, when I got cancer, this guy was fresh out of school. He had just opened up his practice and it was a little thing under my tongue. And he looked at it, he goes, oh boy, I want to get this biopsied right now. And it was December. And I'm like, really? You're going to ruin Christmas for me? I mean, it's stitches under my tongue and I like eating. I like food. So a dream. And the dream was, again, it was a movie. He's sitting there. My husband is sitting back there and he comes in and he's all nervous and he doesn't even know what words to use because I'm the first patient that he's had that he has to say, I'm so sorry, you have squamous cell carcinoma, But in my dream, they show me that in the end, it's cool. It turns out okay. They don't exactly show me the steps or how. That would have been really good to know too, or what hospital or what surgeon I should have gone to. But they let me know, you got this. This is the way it's supposed to be. And I'm not kidding you. When that guy came in, I wasn't nervous. I felt sorry for him because I thought this is so unfair. I already know this game. I know the outcome, and he's going through all of this unnecessarily, and so is my husband. I didn't tell my husband because what was the point of having him 1 week before? It was a week before our scheduled appointment, having him know all this and freaking out and trying to figure out what to do. So like that, like I say, things over and over, and some of them silly. One of them was, I had a dream that my husband was trading in his Mustang. And this was back before there was US, trucks were a thing. And now everybody has one, right? And I had this crazy dream where you come over to the house, we were still dating, and you're standing like this, like in front of this car, real excited. And it's like two-tone, beige on the top, a little darker brown, and it has a pinstripe, the same mustard color, like the road markings. So specific. And I'm like, wow, that was really, why would he buy a truck? That's so tacky. Sure enough, I can't really remember the timeline, but a few weeks later, Michael shows up at our house and, hey, come on, I want you to see something. And he goes over to, I'm like, he goes, what do you think? And looking back, he must have thought, did she totally zone out? I mean, she's not smiling. She's like, because my face must have been total blank, like, I just saw this. How is this even possible? So I wasn't in the moment with him of like, oh, yeah, congratulations, you got a new car. Super cool. I love the pinstripe. It takes you a while to shift into gear to come back to the actual moment that the people around you are experiencing. So many things like that happened to me throughout my life. And it wasn't until, and my husband, another devout Catholic. So kind of to see a family pattern here, right? So I would tell him all these things and he would say to me, I believe that you believe it. Like, okay, it doesn't really matter. Go on doing what I'm doing. Fast forward, and he passes away. It's coming up on 5 years now, this coming November. But I would talk to him about all this stuff. In fact, because it was becoming more relevant in our society, a lot of books out now in the last 10 years about all this stuff. And I'm talking to him about Kim Russo, and I'm reading a book at the beach. And he's like, so what's that about? And he's kind of joking with me. And I go, look, let me just tell you exactly what's going to happen. It doesn't matter what you believe or you don't believe. When you die, his middle brother had passed not too long ago. Your first thing's going to happen, you're going to see your brother's face, and you're going to feel really happy. And then there's going to be this surreal detachment, like what the heck is happening? And you're going to see your body. And then you're going to, that's it. That's part of your transition. So whether you believe it, you don't believe it, you think you're going to see Christ, you think that is the beginning of what is going to happen. And it's all good. You don't have to believe it for it to happen. And that was the summer right before he passed, a few months later. He passed on a Thursday. Completely unexpected. He was at the house by himself. That's a whole other long story. We were staying at the apartment, and myself and my mom and the two dogs. And he was staying at the house. We had to get, I don't know, something done in the attic or something like that. And we were told not to be here. He insisted on being here. Wanted to make sure the workers got here in time. And I get a call from our local police that, can you identify, we have this phone. So somehow they can click into whatever, they can bypass it. And long story short, whatever, he passed that night, Thursday. Our world goes to hell in a handbasket, my daughter and my son. And, we're the next day calling a lot of his business people, and Friday. Saturday, I'm just really going to tell you guys exactly how this happened because it's human. We were in such shock that you have to connect with your brain to take the steps, and to get out of this room, I have to open the door and keep walking, because usually you do all this stuff automatic. Everything took so much focus. 70% of your frontal lobe stops working, by the way, when you have a huge traumatic experience like that. And to me, I thought, how messed up is that? This is when you need it the most. Anyway, so I'm going to the bathroom. And I am literally focusing on contracting my bladder and my muscles to be able to urinate. This is how step-by-step stuff was for me and Brie. And in that instant, talk about non-romantic moment, I get a complete visual, like a movie, like The Dreams, but in my head, my mind's eye, of my husband. And it's just his face with this tremendous smile. I mean, he had this smile with his huge teeth, ear to ear, and he's jubilant, not happy. He's like a 4-year-old on Christmas morning. And his nickname for me was Junior. He was an attorney and a CPA. This is very important because they're all about you lose, I win, I'm right, you're wrong. And he goes, Junior, you were right. This works.
Wow.
Michelle, you'd think I would have been elated and like, oh, baby, I was like, I'm not going to cuss on your show. Beep you. And I just became infuriated, but he was able to, in that moment, have me feel what he was feeling, the things that he was seeing that you can't imagine because they're beyond our comprehension. There are no words for them. How he could be with me and at the same time be watching his daughter over here and be checking in on his brother over there. All of the possibilities of the beyond that most of us don't really have an inkling about. But yeah, I was totally pissed. I'm like, really? Our life has just totally been flipped upside down. I have to focus on how to even go to the bathroom, and you're happy. So that was, and later on, I thought, man, that was a little harsh of me. I should have said, hey, I hope you're okay. Oh, hell no. But that was very typical of me with my husband. He was a 6-degree black belt, incredibly driven human being. And if he would be injured, I'd be like, you're kidding. What happened? Somebody knocked out a tooth because I'm going to knock out the other one. I mean, you have no business doing these kinds of things anymore. So that to me was so evidential for me because he was, I believe you believe, until he passed. And then he just kept coming through. So he passes in November. I think it was like 4 days before our 36th wedding anniversary. Because, yeah, that's the way shit happens in this world, right? And so now I'm like, okay, my life had become my husband, his business, supporting him, networking with him, going on all these trips with him, and taking care of the household. I cared for my grandmother till she was about 100 and passed, my dad, and my mom was still living with me. Our daughter was still with us. I'm like, once I came out of that dark hole, because you inevitably fall there, and got a therapist, I did all the stuff you're supposed to do. And I remember my therapist asking me, and she was a grief therapist. She'd lost her daughter at 3 years old. I said, Jeannette, what are you doing that you're doing so well compared to other clients? My response was, so well? I don't want to know how they're feeling because I want to check out. She's like, oh, no. And I didn't go on medication, although I really wanted to. She's like, no, I think that'll be worse because then you got to come off of it. Then you got another thing that you got to deal with, So I said, well, I'm gonna be straight up with you. Now remember, psychology, they told me don't even mention this. Okay. When I was trying to do the dissertation. And I said to her, look, I'll let you in on a little secret. I have the ability to connect with people who have passed and see them in my dreams. And, my dad passed. I remember him holding my hand when I was sleeping. She, again, super Catholic. What's it with the Catholic? She's like, doesn't miss a Sunday, and she's like, so her first thought, of course, is like, my daughter, and she goes, really? I go, yeah, this is my husband, and and he says this, and she was like, wow. I said, that's the only thing that I could tell you that's different. And my daughter will say that it's BS because even though he's coming through, he's not here. I can't hold him. I can't hug him. I can't laugh with him. But somewhere it makes a difference, a big difference. When you know that your person is still around you, is still accessible to you, no, it's never going to be like they're going to hold you. And then actually I'm lying there because as time went on, I experienced something like that, like from the movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg, where, it comes into the person and does actually hug you. And they feel like they're with that person. So it was a ride. And about, I think, a year after he passed, I had tried to take courses or to learn more about mediumship and all these odd things that had happened in my life. My family was really zero help, even though they were okay with it, because they were also, funny enough, had a dogma of their own of like, you have to do it every week and it has to be at night. I'm talking about the seances. It had to be Friday night and the same people had to go. And I'm like, I don't understand how something that amazing needs to have so many boundaries and so much protocol. It didn't make sense to me. I was at one point, I'm going to deviate a second, on a beach with my parents. My dad was going through a depression, and I would take him to the beach and relax him. And all of a sudden, I feel like I'm falling asleep, like I can't keep my eyes open. I wake up. My face is like wet, like I've been crying. I look over my dad, who's in the little lounge chairs at the beach, and he's crying. He's got his handkerchief out. He always had a handkerchief. Love that. And I go, Bobby, just dad. I go, ¿Qué pasó? What happened? He's like, gracias. Thank you. And he gets up and walks down the beach. After that story, throw it back there again. Michelle, throw it back there again. I didn't know what that was. Well, now I know that's trance. I had no clue. And that had happened to me a couple other times with other people. Of course, with other people, at least this was my dad who knew all about this and did this stuff. But, anyway. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not in any position to do therapy with anyone because I thought about going back to that because I'm not strong enough. Let me see if there's some reliable source out there that isn't going to tell me $500 for one class, second class is $2,000, the fourth class is $5,000. It just doesn't resonate with me. And I found The Journey Within, and I think that I came about it because my daughter bought me a book called Signs, which is amazing, by Laura Lynn Jackson. And she just breaks down what this is all about, how they're constantly trying to communicate with you, how they're trying to send you signs, how they're trying to get through to you, whether it's through your dreams or a thought that pops in your head. And you're like, the origin of this doesn't really seem to be from my cognition, but yeah, what a great idea, etc. So it was $10 back then, a class. Today it's 15. Beginning mediumship. I'm like, okay, try it out. An hour and a half. No downside, really, right? I need to fill my life up with time. I need to pivot. I need to reinvent myself because that's the next thing. Once you're starting to heal, you need a focus. You need a destination. And the best thing you could ever do in anything is how can you help other people? Because that just refills you and give you that energy to keep going. Because let me tell you, the women in my family lived to 100. So when he had a neighbor, very untactful, but she goes, "What's the worst thing that has come to your mind after your husband died?" Again, beep, 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 beep.
Oh, dear.
I'm like, thank you for the question. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. The women in my family lived to 100. So I'm thinking I got like another half of my life here alone. I don't know how I'm going to do that. That is scaring the hell out of me. In this world, a year and after I had spent, nearly, 35, 36 years with him. So I found that class and I hooked onto the class and I kept going to it. And then when they first told me, so, just they do this thing of sitting in the power, they call it. And it's basically just kind of disconnecting from the here and now and drifting, which I had been doing my whole life without really knowing, right? Oh, she daydreams in class. I don't know how many times I heard my mom say, "Teachers, it's your daydreaming." I'm like, can't stand that teacher. But yeah, so that's part of the institutions, crushing all of those things that are supposed to continue to happen naturally in your life. And so that first thing, and the woman back then, she has passed since. Her name was Jeannette, amazing. She was a Catholic nun. So I'm reading the story. I'm like, wait a minute, Catholic nun. Now remember how Catholicism had been so in my face, and I'm like, what? She was part of a cluster, where they give up their whole family and it's just all about Jesus and, the sisters that they're with. And she starts to see and she starts to hear things. And she goes to Mother Superior and she goes, "This is what's happening." And Mother Superior goes, No, only the Pope. She had the cojones to say, "You know what? You guys are wrong." She'd been there like 20 years, man. She leaves and she starts doing her own research. She hooks up with England, which, to them, this is like commonplace, right? It's like McDonald's drive-through for America. They have churches everywhere, and there are churches in order to protect them. It's really not a secular religion. And she learns everything she needs to learn. And she comes to the United States and up north, like again, I'm in Miami. So way up north, I had, unbeknownst to me, all of these different little spots where they believe in this and they do classes and there's all this history and blah, blah, blah. So respect, integrity. And that won me over, thinking, okay, let me see what Journey Within is about. And it proved to be what I had expected it to be because she ran it. And and soon enough, I get an email, you're going from beginning to intermediate mediumship. So, but I will tell you that the first time she says, okay, so just see what comes into your mind, and whatever comes into your mind, go with that. And then see what they say to you. I'm like, what's she talking about? They come into my mind, coming into my mind. Am I supposed to imagine it? But sure enough, it like takes a second, and it takes a second for me because I've been doing it my whole life. And I think it's really important for people to know it's going to be different for every person. You're not all going to do it the same. You're not going to have the same experience. So I'll be dying if I don't see a person. And then it's like a movie, like all the movies that I've been seeing in my life. And now they're talking to me, and I'm smelling whiskey, and I'm smelling a cigar, and I am relaying the information to the person, and it's yes or no, or I don't know what you're talking about. And it was spot on. So the amount of evidence that came through, and that's what she required, very strict, her protocol, resonated with me because, again, reliability and validity. You don't just assume something, you just prove it. And if you prove it, you've got to prove it over and over. Somebody else has to prove it. Somebody else has to prove it with a different group of people, etc. So I was like, wow. And as I'm doing it, I was still astonished and amazed. And then I had other people, because you're basically in a chat room, and the other person, then they have their turn. And of course, who comes through over and over again? But Michael, because now he's like all about this. Okay. And he comes in, and it was very interesting to see the progression of his spirit on the other side. At first, he was all joking and laughing and flirting, because he was a big flirt. And kicking, because he could kick his leg, literally his foot up over his head to here when he did a kick, right? With his taekwondo and all his stuff. And so that's how he would present himself to the other medium. I've got a guy here who's really weird. He's joking and laughing, and he's kind of cocky. I'm like, and oh my God, he's kicking his foot up over his head. And he's brilliant. He's super intelligent, has multi businesses. I'm like, yeah, I know exactly who you have there. It got to the point where I asked him, can you just back off a little bit so that other people can come through? But it was also a terrific resource for me of being able to connect with him once and twice a week through other mediums without me really reaching out, which let me know he was there 100% all the time, watching us and helping us through, the last 4 years and everything that we've had to go through, which was, human stuff, which is nasty and heavy and stuff that we all go through. But so in 2.5 or to 3 years, it's kind of like mediumship on crack, I think. And it wasn't like that was my intention. I did not have a goal. I want to reach this thing and I want to do that. I needed a purpose. I'm very intellectual, I'm very academic. So reading books and reading more stuff and learning and understanding all of the, oh my God, that's what happened to me then. Wait a minute, that other thing that, and then the more I'm doing it, like anything else, like you took on a huge endeavor with a workout, right? Regimen. And, maybe the first time you get to lift it, your hand's like, oh my God, I can't. And now you're just like, pull an elephant over your head. No problem. So I think the same thing happens with, our ability to just, go into an altered state of consciousness and disconnect. And then that went into, again, not even knowing, doing trance. And I was told it takes at least 10 years, practicing steady trance. I'm like, I don't verbally say anything because there's no point in that. But in my head, I'm like, how could you? But my science helps me here. I'm thinking, dude, how many studies have you done on everybody who's ever done a trance to say, oh, yeah, that was 10 years. That guy did 20. That guy did 15. There's never been anybody under 10. So I immediately discount something unless I know that there's evidence to prove contrary. So I'm like, no, that's not right. So I did one class, which was interesting. And, one of our good friends who's been on your show many times talks about synchronicity, right?
Yeah.
I hadn't really left my house. I was doing classes. And back then I could do them from bed with no makeup, which was awesome. That's how I started, literally in bed. So one of the ladies that I meet on the Zoom says, hey, will you go with me to Omega? Never heard of it. Upstate New York for a class by Tony Stockwell. I like that dude because he didn't have constraints or protocol. He's like, anything can happen. And I'm like, finally, one of them is kind of singing my tune here. And it's a weekend for, he does psychic investigation, right? And they work with police officers and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm a little raw emotionally for that kind of stuff. It's heavy. But I thought it's an opportunity to push myself, to get on a plane again, to do something on my own again, outside of the Zoom in the house. And so I look it up and it looks beautiful. I'm an outdoorsy girl. I grew up in California doing the mountains. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to go up there just for the weekend. What other classes do they have going the week after? And there's a trance class. I'm like, I read a little bit. I'm like, sounds interesting. Okay, I'm going to go up for the week. And so I do the weekend thing. And I kind of like in my head, pretty much detach as they're connecting. Somebody lost a son. It's heavy. It's really heavy stuff. And I wasn't anywhere near ready for more heavy. And then we start with the trance. I had no idea what I was doing. And the people that are in there are talking about all these authors and all these things. And I'm just like really quiet, go, yeah. Oh, fascinating. Just like commentaries that mean zero because
Yeah.
I don't want to be found out for the fool that I am. Just like, I just want to see what you guys are doing here. I'm just infiltrating this. Yeah. And so he's going through all these exercises. And in one of those exercises, I remember it was like October, beautiful foliage. It was a great trip. And he's like, so now I want you to, connect, we were coupled off, in pairs with, somebody, you say, hey, I want you to bring this person through. Right. And then you're going to give that energy spirit to really blend with you and really come through you. And I'm thinking, so he's talking ghosts, Cody Hahn, Debbie Moore. Like, okay, sure, I'll play along. Right, I'm here. Really incredulous.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just relax or whatever. And then I start to see this woman in my mind. And then Michelle, I'm like, I'm starting to do hair flips. And I can feel my hand doing this. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? What is happening? Exactly what he said. And I'm thinking, wait, was that, suggestive? I was like, no, because I was like haunting him the whole time. I'm thinking this is BS. And sure enough, her sister, full-fledged, comes through. I take on some of her habits, some of her, head gestures, and bizarre. Crazy strange to me. And then he says, so if you're both comfortable with it, they can hug it out, or much more eloquently put than that. They can hug it out.
Yeah.
And so I get up and she doesn't hug the partner that I'm with. She grabs both her hands and then she starts dancing with her. I don't drink and I don't do drugs, okay? Because that would have been my first thing, like, well, what exactly did I this morning before coming into this class, right? So I was floored. She's crying. And I'm just left with like, wow, I got more stuff to unpack. What was this? So this is something we can experience here. I've had a lot of those mind-blowing things. And a lot of them I've had to not really, I don't throw it all the way back there, but I kind of like pack it off in a section for a wee bit because it's too much. It's too much. That one was too much. And that has since then happened to me several times. And I thought, okay, this is something else to be offered to people. And the results are just, I cry.
Yeah.
I cry because when that energy melds with you, it's the most intimate thing. You're feeling the love that they have for that person that they've left on this earth, not behind. I don't want to say that is still on this earth. It is such a gift. And then it kind of ticks me off that, like I said, I think we're all capable of doing this and having these connections that are so filling and illuminating.
Yeah.
And it changes that other individual. I have a cousin who's like, oh my God, are you drained? Are you this? Are you that? I go, let me explain to you what I feel. Because I feel like I've had a bottle of wine all on my own in a jacuzzi, like,
yeah,
so relaxed. No, I don't feel depleted. I don't feel any of that. On the contrary, it's such a heightened and joyful emotion. And it leaves you just resonating with such vibrance,
Yeah.
And you're left thinking of how that person felt. So it's incredible. It's incredible. And like I said, I will tell you, at the end of that week, he went into a trance. I still didn't know what the hell I was doing. Even after that experience, like I said, I went back and I'm like, they don't even have TV there. So I'm like, I need, thank God for the phone and Netflix on my phone. I'm going to watch whatever because I need just reality BS stuff right now.
Yeah.
They said, well, on Friday, we're going to have Zintar. I didn't want to ask because I didn't want to, draw attention to myself as like, how do you, and they're all really excited. So I'm thinking, oh, is this like, because they do yoga and meditation. I'm like, so maybe it's some kind of mega yoga thing we're going to do on Friday. So I come in literally, I think they're going to have all the chairs moved out. There's going to be mats. No, there's like one chair up on stage and all the other chairs kind of like around like an audience thing. And I'm like, what? I sit in the very back, man. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be heard. I'm just going to sit back. And because that was my week. It was like, yeah, show me what you got. Really. That was my week. Thought it was some kind of exercise we were doing. I swear to you. And this woman comes up, she's like a narrator, and she's like, okay, so Tony now is going to go into a trance and bring through Zintar. And I'm like, bring through? What is she talking about? And then you can raise your hand so that he can, call on you or what. I'm like, and so, she does a good job of describing as he's going down. So, there's communication with the audience. And then sure enough, his facial features change now, but the room is dimly lit. And again, I'll be completely honest because I love Tony Stockwell. I'm like, and people are, so if you can observe his face is looking longer, and I'm like, really? I mean, how can you prove that? It's super dark in here. Nobody's shining a light on him. We don't have like anything to compare it to. When you hold your vision on anything long enough, it can get blurry and things can happen. Okay. Anyway, so, and then all of a sudden, the different voice, the different resonance, it's like almost a different posture. And he greets the people. I don't remember what his words were. And then all of a sudden, all these hands start going up. And I'm like, what? What are they wanting from me? And And then the narrator lady says, okay, and she picks and people go up there and I'm just like, really just like, what's going to happen next? And there were a few people that I had gotten to know there that week. And this is the one that was very interesting to me. So you would go up there and he was like talking about you and your life and your qualities and your character. So this one lady, she was a little out there. You know what I mean? She's somebody that would sit at your table at lunch and you'd be like, oh, what if you really get the hell out of here? Because she was a lot. She was a lot. She had a lot of nervous energy. She was all over the place. I found her to be like a little imbalanced. And I thought, well, I hope she gets what she needs here. And so she goes up and he does this and you put your palms on his and lacking in balance. I'm like, so now I'm thinking, Michelle, because even as I'm here now, years later, I'm like, was he in the lunchroom? You know, the actual Tony guy, not who does he know who was sitting at that table when she went on this crazy rant? Because it was really out there. But then he continues and he continues. And I'm like, wow, kind of blown away. I'm like, there's no way you could know that. Okay. So I'm like, oh, wow. So, all right, interesting. And then the narrator says, okay, well, you know, he's getting tired now. We're going to close this up. Begrudgingly, you see hands going down and, you know, there's always the person.
Yeah.
It goes, and then the Zentar says, no, one more. And the hands are all going crazy again. And he goes, a lady back there in the blue sweater. Man next to me. And I'm like oblivious to this. Guy like literally smacks me in the shoulder. Man, that's you. I go, I know. I put my hand up. I go, look at all these people. They want to go up. I know. I'm observing. I'm sitting in the back row. People know that the back row don't want to be messed with. That's why we're in the back row. Okay, we're not in the front row. I want to hear everything. Pick me, pick me. No, that's never been me. And the lady comes up, please, can you come up? And I'm like, beep me again. Beep. My God. Up until now, everything that the Zentar has said to these people was profound. It was moving. So I get up there and, you know, put your hands on his hands. Very odd. Like, odd. Oddly peculiar. Like thinking, really, dude? I've been silent this whole week. Why are you calling me out? And you hear people kind of chuckling now. I'm like, all of these messages have been like soulful and serious. What the hell? Oddly peculiar. And I just couldn't help it. I mean, I really tried to be reverent, but my mouth sometimes just open and stuff comes out. I'm like, oh, so I'm like Harry Potter then. What do you do when people put you on the spot like that? And oddly peculiar. And he follows that up with, fun fact, equal parts male and female. Okay. I'm no longer snickering because I'm thinking, man, let me tell you, give me a makeup brush and give me a hammer. I am equally happy.
Yeah.
Equally happy. My dad was an architect. I love to go out and build stuff. I've built a dock in my house with my brother. But you wouldn't know it to look at me. I'm like, what the hell? And then he continued with some other stuff that were 100% spot on. And then he went into, you are all elements. I have no idea what that means. I haven't read that book yet. What is that? I said, well, what does that mean? You are wind, fire, earth, and water. Like, it's a whole lot that I'm at, you know. But he was very quiet. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. I mean, I love being in the water, being in the beach, being in the pool. I'm all about being outside with the trees, with nature. I have built my own fire pits and started a fire when it gets a little cool in Miami just to see the flames. And when we have a storm coming through, I go out to that dock just to feel that wind coming through. And I'm like, that's really weird, man. Because, yeah, he's right. I love all of those earth elements. Then I don't know what else he said. And then the clincher. I think he saved me for the end because it was a great way to really end and go out with a bang. This guy, he goes, the oddly peculiar is because you are not from here. I go, no, I'm from Cuba. I get a laugh. Nobody laughed. Goes, you are not from this planet. At which point, this eyebrow just kind of went way the heck up there. And I'm like, what does that even mean? What, total silence from all the people in there. And I'm like, wow, great. Thank God it's the last day of this thing because this can't be good. You know what I mean? Like when you first start high school and that first day you mess it up, that's it. Your reputation's shot down. And he finished. I thanked him, whatever. Like, okay, well, that was, again, a whole lot to unpack, right? So there's a line for the ladies' room. And usually everybody's chit-chatting as they're waiting to get in, and they're all chit-chatting. And I come up and it's like crickets. They all stop talking and just kind of like give me a sideways look. And then they look down and I'm like, well, hey, we all got to come from somewhere. I don't know where I'm from. To be honest with you, I always just thought it was Cuba. Again, nobody laughed. I didn't know what any of that was, Michelle. Fast forward 2 years, star people, aliens. That was way more than I could take and that I could chew. I was happy with, hey, here's your grandma. And, she's telling you, I was happy with the dead people part. Totally fine with that. That's what my family did. And still this other planet thing. And like I said, I'm glad that was the last day because people was, I don't think they knew what to do with me. I didn't know what to do.
That's a great introduction to basically sort of direct you to where you are now, isn't it?
It was, I didn't know it at the time, but it was a big clue, a preparation, because a year later, I continued with trance. And that's where we started, practicing together. And I'm at my little desk here at the house and Michelle would record her stuff. And I thought, this girl's brilliant, man. Of course we should be recording because if you zone out and your mouth is moving and you don't know when you wake up and you're like, well, what a waste of time. What was that about? You know what I mean? Where did that hour go? Was I just sleeping? What was I doing? So I started to record my stuff as well, taking her lead. And it was October of 23. And I don't know how my brain at that point just didn't implode. It was incredibly difficult. It was, I think it was like an hour and a half trance or something like that. It was long. That's another thing. Oh, you can only do trance. You can only be in trance for half an hour. Again, limitations. Why? So, and even like right now, it's difficult for me to say this because I'm still thinking that's just so bizarre. So it wasn't somebody's family member or anything like that. It was what they say, a collective of aliens. And it went on describing things that were going to take place on Earth, things that were going to take place in the future. And a lot of it just, it blew my mind because it was institutions that have been here for hundreds of years that they said, like, our government is going to completely be disassembled. It doesn't work anymore. And there's going to be all these difficulties, and a new government will arise, but it'll have a different name, won't be government. They talked about that the Catholic Church knew that they existed and had proof and evidence of that, and that was all going to come to light, and that the churches, as we know them all, are going to lose their stronghold. It talked about how powerful we all are individually from our source, and how mankind is going to be able to connect with that and recognize that, again, like I said earlier, not needing, a big brother in that kind of way. But to me, these are scary thoughts, because these are the things that anchor you in this world. Our education system is going to change. I mean, that you have a grandkid, it's going to go to school. It's going to go to some church or some place, usually. There's going to be taxes to pay. There's a program. We all follow the program. Our parents, our grandparents, great-grandparents, they all follow the program. Right? So, and then they talked about intervention, where they're going to make themselves known. They talked about, it was very eloquent, and there were many words even that I said, because they talked about space. And I had to look some of the stuff up. I didn't know what they were talking about. Something about wormholes and some other stuff that apparently they are working on, but they haven't quite gotten there, but that they're going to get there. But the people don't know that they're working on it. Interesting stuff, that they were going to build on the moon, like a whole center or whatever, and send people up there. And that one's a little interesting, because there is somebody that I know who actually works for one of these sections, because the whole thing is you have all of these millions of different people working on different things, so you don't really see the whole picture. But that one individual told me that what they're doing is putting like a mission place up on the moon, that the project that he's working on.
Wow. Yeah.
That came after, by the way, in a phone call with that individual. I'm like, wait a minute. And I think it came just 2 weeks after that trance.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? And then I remembered, and I went back and I heard the trance thing again. So a lot of changes at that moment in time. Russia and Ukraine were at war. It mentioned another war with Israel. And then it mentioned that after not too long, other countries would come and become also involved, that the United States would get it. And I'm like, no way, hello. Like, just what just happened in the United States, whatever. I try not to watch so much news, because it can make you really,
yeah, exactly.
The fear factor of it all. But I do check with it, going, wow, wait a minute. Check. Okay. So, but can I tell you, as a human, so a month later, we're up a family Christmas in the mountains, and hey, let's decorate the tree. And I'm like, decorate the tree? What are you talking about? Our government's going to collapse? The churches, as we know, are sisters, isn't going to be in a school? I mean, aliens are coming to our planet? Christmas? My daughter, she just looked at me, she's like, Mom, can't you just go back to dead people?
Something more simple.
So, I was, reaching my mentor, trying to get a hold of him. I go, listen, you need to call me back. I'm losing it for 3 days. I was just, going through all of these scenarios, because when they said that they're going to come, I was like, what do you mean you're gonna just show up here? They said that coalition, I'm going off my memory, that there was the multitudes, being those of us here on Earth, that the multitude are ready for something like this, that there's going to be some outliners, most of them, they say religious, so that if we're not going to go into chaos and shock, we're going to be like, oh, okay, it's going to be surprising and all that. And that they're going to do it like in stages, so we don't completely freak out. And then it said, and this part, I can't forget this part, it says, and those who don't understand will be swept up and taught.
Ooh.
The visual that I got, yeah, right? Little alarming, but Merry Christmas, everybody. What did you get? What I got was that it's more of a untangling of the dogma that has been impounded on us to open it back up to your knowledge of things beyond this world. So nothing horrible or anything. So, I mean, but I got to tell you, man, that one blew my mind. And still, and now, they come through. I've done 2 demonstrations. At least a lot of people don't get it. They don't know what it is. And I understand them because I'm still like, what, aliens? I mean, when you go into trance, people think you're going to bring through guardian angel or I don't know. But and since then, though, I don't feel, and I remember my field of studies, therapy, psychology. So I'm always checking myself. I go back to my DSM. He's like, wait, check. No, I don't quite fit that diagnosis. No, I'm not that either. Okay, no, I think I'm still okay. And then on YouTube, I have found Daryl Aka, I think is his name, who's been apparently doing this for I don't even know how many years, bringing through, I don't know the name of his alien or the group, can't remember now. But so I listened to a few of his shows and I'm like, it seems very similar to what is happening to me. And then somewhere along there, the information that I got was that they're trying to access as many. That's why I said I'm not a special person. I'm only special because I'm so funny and adorable, but not in this realm. But obviously, the more individuals you have putting out a message, the greater the probability of people being ready and prepared for it. So I think that's the agenda at this point. And like I said, and then as you follow the news, there's been like near point where, one country was going to blow up something else and something happened with the electrical field and it misfired and they weren't able to do it. So I'm seeing stuff in the news that kind of follows in line with a lot of what that trance said and a lot of, when they come through and when they talk. Their last thing to me is that they want me to kind of put this out there, like the other guys did. I'm thinking, but you've got a bunch of people doing this already. Do you really need one more? But I guess they want one more. I don't know. So, but I'm kind of going along, digesting, unpacking, and that part to me is still bizarre. Like in one of the demonstrations, my daughter was pretty upset. She does social media, excellent at it. So I got lucky there. She's like, this one lady kind of just rolled her eyes when you were in trance and just, walked out. I'm like, can I be honest with you, honey? Jeannette here, I would have done the same thing. Because I was in the back of the class going, nothing's happening with that guy. I guess it's not yoga. And look, and here I am a year later. I was sitting in judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was. So who am I? I said, you can't be upset with anybody, Brianna, because that's human nature. It's not known to us. We don't understand it. We're not used to it.
We don't understand it yet. It is becoming more known, more common. I mean, Jeanette, you and I both run in circles, you know what I mean? Not as in literally circles, but as in groups, practice groups, different courses, different classes. And this is becoming the norm across the world.
Let me go back to in our circle, but you go anywhere else. I mean, we just had the 4th of July here. I know this will air later. And I met my sister, who's an attorney, a friend of hers who does, I don't know what else. And she started talking about this stuff. And these are intelligent, individuals, but it's the norm in our group but step out of our group into the rest of the world, and it is not. They're kind of like, you do what? That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, a lot of the things that they said checked out. Love to end things with an upbeat. They mentioned, because my question lately to them is, to what means? Okay, so you want me to put myself out there? Okay, I'm going to do that. I don't care what people say or what they think. I'm over all of that at this age, right? So, what's the end game? What are we looking to accomplish here, right? And the answer is, you're beautiful. Number one, apparently a lot of technology that has been hidden from us on how to be healthier, different things that we can do that are not medications, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to bring in a lot of knowledge. Some that they say we used to know, but we lost somewhere. That's a whole other show, like Atlantis, and I don't know where else. That I'm like, what, for real? Come on, what evidence is there? That's a whole other mind blowing thing. But so that the kids being born, this I thought was amazing to me, and I'm now seeing it on a lot of clips and stuff, that they're going to be more advanced. When my kid was born, my daughter is now 33. It took her a couple of days to raise her head and roll over. Well, go on YouTube or anything, and or Google it, and you'll see these kids. They're like there.
Aware, very advanced.
And that they're going to be that thing that happened with myself and my grandmother. It was like psychic, like, that they're going to have that ability. So just recently learned about the telepathy tapes or something like that. It's a podcast with autistic children, and they have psychic connections with their moms where they can read, and they're actually advanced and they can communicate, just not in the way that we communicate. And they don't understand why we need all this verbiage, because they do it like this.
Yeah.
Like my grandmother did to me. And that has happened to me before, and it freaks me out. And, people are messy. I don't want to be in anybody's head. I got enough with my own head. I don't want to be psychically reading what's happening in Michelle right now. No, thank you. I take a total pass on that one. I hope it's happy, beautiful, lovely thoughts. And I'm going to leave it there. I don't, but I know that that's the thing, reading. What's the other one? When you basically project out of your body.
Astral projection.
Astral projection. So that's happened to me. And one time I was but it's very interesting because I can see the psychology behind it. My daughter then gets married and they're having the first fight. I don't even know where I was physically in my house because it just blew my mind. All of a sudden, I'm kind of like hanging up in the corner of her kitchen. And I see the two of them kind of going at it. They're both very upset. She's crying. And I'm like, interesting, because I'm so respectful of their space. My thought wasn't, oh my God, what's happening? My thought was, I shouldn't be watching this. This is private. And then boom, I was back. And then I checked with her. I said, is everything okay? We're having a huge fight. I'm like, where were you exactly? We were in the kitchen. And I go, what? Where were you facing? Where was he facing? I'm like, oh, man. It's kind of like, Michelle, I get a grip on the latest thing that has taken place. And then something else gets thrown at me that, again, freaks me out. So I bought a book on that. Started to read it, and I'm like, oh, that's too much. But it happened to me again. I don't even remember the other time. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just too bizarre. And the one time that happened to me scared me. It was a detective thing. We were actually just a normal class. And this poor lady comes in. She goes, my best friend just lost her daughter. They can't find her. She had graduated high school. They were doing a big party up in the mountains of California. And since there's 30 mediums gathered here, can you all kind of take a minute? And the professor said, yeah, go ahead. And I was like, no, again, I don't want to go to those feelings. I make my grocery list for the week. That's what I did. And so when he's like, okay, let's get back to what our class is about. I'm like, great. Okay. And so we put you in your chat rooms with your person. And boom, guess who my person was? the lady. And I'm like, beep. And I don't know what happened. I don't even think she said anything. All of a sudden, I feel a little cold and clammy. And I see myself, I'm sitting straight up against a tree. I could feel the tree and I could see the tree. I can't move my body. I can move my eyes. I look down at my body and it's much thinner than I am right now. And I'm like, what? It's not me. It does that have my birthmark? The girl's got her nails are like all, when you kind of you should really remove the polish. And I could feel the soil underneath me was moist and it had give to it. And then I'm looking and there's like dirt and sand, wet sand. And then there's a lake, huge lake. I could see across the lake. I hear and see a helicopter kind of, flying across the lake this way. Across the lake, there's a vegetation, forest, pine trees, and then mountains behind that. And then way over to my right, there's like a huge boulder. The panic that ensued, I could feel her panic. I could feel her desperation. Horrible. That was worse than the feeling I had when I knew my husband had died. That's how bad that was. I didn't want to have anything to do with that, And people tell me, oh, but it can help. I go, but not if I can't deal with it, So I've had those 2 episodes. I should probably look into it so that I can control it and find out more about it. But my point is, I think we can all do that. And we probably all have. We just don't remember. So if those things are possible, just what else is there out there?
Oh, absolutely.
Beyond our imagination. So things are hard in this world right now. Definitely. And apparently they're going to get harder. But I think that there's magic waiting for us at the end of this. I think there's a better world. I think there's going to be a lot of growth, a lot of excitement, without boundaries, infinite possibilities.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Just a bit too much. Sometimes it is too much. And I go out in the yard and I throw the ball with the dog. And, really important for me to also remember I'm here on a life journey and I have to do life. Because this stuff is crazy fascinating and scary as hell. But I also have to do the relationship of like, am I getting along with this person? And, how's my son-in-law doing with me? And that's, you've got to have like a foot in both areas. So it's definitely kept me busy and it's kept me interested. So if I would have taken a job someplace, I probably would have been bored as hell and depressed, missing my husband, where things are just so weird that it's hard for me to get into that headspace. It's a lot easier to deal with the grief.
Yeah.
We have all these bizarre experiences happening, and people like yourself, where you have other people on your show where you're seeing, their faces change, and it's just fantastical. Yes.
It is. Yeah, it is. I call it the wow factor. And I just think there are so many experiences that we limit ourselves to that are possible. Everything is possible.
Beyond.
And you don't know until you go.
Possible. I don't think there's words for it. I mean, aliens, just the few things that I have mentioned today. And I swear, if I was watching your show, I'd be like, poor girl, lost it when her husband checked out. So sad. I hope she does okay. I'll pray for her tonight. Yeah. That's probably my takeaway. So you guys are all judging me out there. Listen, no problem. I would probably be hanging with you doing the same thing. Like, wow.
Yeah. But I mean, look, realistically, these are, real experiences that you have. And like everybody else on the show, these are real experiences that they've had. And, I always look at it as we all dream and we all talk about the dreams we have, and we believe each other when we talk about our dreams. Oh, I was flying in my dream. You don't question that. You believe what I'm saying. because we've all done it, because we all do it.
Yeah.
What's the difference? You know, I then question, what's the difference? If we all did this, it would be normal. And there would be no questions. Yeah.
I'm just interested if I do make it to that 50 years I've been talking about. So at first it was like, what a bummer. I got to be here 50 years. And I'm like, wait a minute. A lot can happen in 50 years. I can't imagine to what extent what am I going to see? I mean, if I think this has been a lot, I better buckle my seatbelt because it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Yeah.
Fascinating ride. It's going to be like one of those roller coasters when you get off, you're like, wow, my brain fluid, I don't even know where it went, but I want to go on it again. It was incredible. Yeah. So I think it's going to be difficult to get there, but I do think, and then there's so many fabulous spiritual people out there putting their messages and guiding, and they've been doing it for 40, 50 years. What the heck did I know? Nothing. So, I click into them, and when I need a little assertion, a little backup support, and it helps to see that you're not the only person that's in this and doing this and thinking about it. And these people have just given selfishness stuff. They're like, 40, 50 years when this was great. Listen, when I used to do intakes, I had to ask. So, Michelle, have you seen or heard anything that no one else around you has seen? And just kind of give you like a little side nod and wait. Now, given my background and my culture, I had many people that would tell me, this one woman, I'll never forget me. She broke my heart. She's like, well, I was pregnant and I woke up one night and I saw Mother Mary standing at the foot of my bed, cradling my baby, saying, I'm going to take it now.
Oh.
And then I had my miscarriage. And she has come back to me telling me this and that. So my professor was very Anglo-American. And I'm like, I'm just forgetting to put these in the notes because, nobody needs to be taken away today for something that really, and since then I will hats off to psychology a little bit. They've really did a great job of including cultural differences of people that are from the islands and, so that they're not censored for a belief system that America is not privy to and is not part of our culture or their culture. I'm both American and Cuban, so it's like I said, a mix for everything for me. But yeah, so a lot and a lot more to happen.
Yeah,
that's why I watch the show because I want to see what's happening to the other people. I gotta compare my notes with them. Like, oh, that was far worse than what I went through. Oh, okay.
But man,
that.
Yeah,
have a glass of wine. All good.
It is all good. Man, you've been through a lot. And I want to say thank you for sharing, the loss of your husband with the world, because through your story, this gives so many other people out there hope that they are still here. They are still around. And if you can't communicate with them, there's, you haven't, I want to say developed that ability yet. There are other people who can help you communicate with loved ones. And you've given so many people hope. You just, again, like I say, it's the wow factor. It's the wow factor.
Let me just interrupt you for 1 second also here, because like I said, for me, evidence is so important. The fact that Michael came through with all these different people, but this one evidence, after my daughter got married, I was at the university or a college over there for spiritual whatever in the UK. And I had a reading done by one of the professors there, a fabulous woman. And he came through. And number one, she was funny because, she doesn't want to cuss and whatever. Anyway, and he said a-hole in his thing. But he said, tell her that our daughter, had to change her shoes right before she went down the aisle. That she had 2 pairs of shoes and she had ones that she loved, but she couldn't wear them. She had to change them. Like, that's so weird. I have to wait till I get back and ask her. With my daughter, it's not like I call her and tell her these things. I wait for the moment of saying, hey, your dad came through. I mean, it's a delicate thing, right? So I go, so I had this reading and your dad came through and, he said this and this, and then he mentioned that you had a second pair of shoes that you changed. And she just went, because she's also thinking this is just me wanting to connect with him and blah, blah, because she's not in there in that space in the class when I'm doing this. And she just starts bawling. She goes, Mom, nobody knows that. I had to change them out. Remember when I went to do whatever in the back room, and I'm like, yeah, because I was like, your groom is going to think you're butting out of here. You know, and she's like, I had to go change my shoes because I didn't think I was going to make it down the aisle. There's no way. I had no clue. I didn't even know because there was so much going on that day. And you can imagine it was 2 years after my husband passed away. So just getting through that wedding was a whole lot for me as our only kid and everything. So, and he was incredibly, incredibly close with her. And he gave evidence of his being there that day. He mentioned different things that I had done, my speech, things that went off course during the wedding, he mentioned. But the shoes was like fabulously brilliant because that was just for her.
Yeah.
So you will get that. You will get that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And that was like a completely different woman who didn't know me, didn't know anything about me, you know, other than my name. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. I just,
so when you say this gives other people hope, again, with my evidence itch, I want them to know that over and over, there has been evidence that he continues to bring through so many times.
Yeah.
Specific that nobody can know.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no denying it when someone you don't know tells you something that happened, that they weren't there, they don't know you. How would they possibly know? You can't deny that evidence.
Yep. Yeah. But I think it's very personal. I think it's very individual. Because I used to hear the stories of my grandfather. I'm like, yeah, well, that sounds really cool. But where's the evidence? This is an uncle telling me what he saw at that, session. I wasn't there. Nobody took notes. Nobody made any attempt to record any of this stuff. So I'm like, they're all saying all this stuff, so there must be something there. But so for me, until I started to really get all my stuff myself, I'm like, wow, mind blowing. And as far as psychology, I have seen people change in 10 or 15 minutes their life situation when they connect and get an insight, and kind of like a cheat sheet, where you could have somebody in therapy 6 months, 7 months and not get there. Because I think what it is, it's you're checking into a different part of them, of their subconscious, that when we're just doing one-to-one therapy, we don't even go there. They do it in hypnosis. They do a lot of it in hypnosis, and they do a lot of it in past life regression. They access that.
Yeah.
And they get a lot of breakthroughs that way.
Yeah. So I agree.
At some point, and there are people who are now kind of melding the both. The therapy with the different levels of consciousness and mediumship. I'll have many readings I have had where I'm like, oh, I see where my psychology is going to come in to play, because it's almost been like family therapy at the end of unsolved issues that you had with this person. And like, oh, now I know why she did that. Yeah. And then going through it and settling that with the individual. So
yeah.
Infinite possibilities await everybody.
Exactly. Oh, wow. Jeannette, thank you so much for sharing so much. That's a whole lot to unpack there for the listeners and viewers. And I think this may be an episode where people listen multiple times to, again, so much to unpack. You've got the Nostradamus predictions going on. You've got the aliens coming in. There's just so much. And again, hope when there's grief. It is incredible. Thank you so much for joining us today. where can people find you?
I'm at Jeannette Connects, and that's spelled the complicated French way, JeAnnette, connects.com. And you can find everything in there. And I just want to leave your listeners with, first of all, gratitude for tuning into your show, because if they don't listen, if people don't have access to this, we're not going to really get very far. And to open their hearts, their spirits are eager, and listen with your open hearts, and let your spirit take you where you're meant to go.
Yeah.
Many blessings to all of you, and much gratitude for this time today, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jeannette. And I'll put all the links in the comments below. And I look forward to having you back on the show again very, very soon. Super excited for that. Thank you.
That will be fun. I'm just a little trepidatious of what might happen between then and now. More unpacking to do. I'm never going to be settled. I need more closet space.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jeannette. Thank you.
Thanks for joining me at the Medium's Table. The universe is always speaking. Listen and let your spirit soar. Curious for more? Click on one of the videos below and remember to subscribe.